Okay, I think we are up and running. We'll get let the stream sort of get going here. When people show up, I'll be able to actually test if all the settings are right. But just to start off, as seen on the opening crawl here, the game that we've been playing through this session is one of the more infamous classics from the NES library. This is Ninja Gaiden. This game was made by Tecmo in 1989 and is notorious for being one of the most difficult games in the NES library. I remember playing this a lot way back in the day on our original NES, and I don't think I ever beat it way back in the day. This game is brutally difficult. But hopefully, on stream this evening, I'll be able to see how much of it I remember and hopefully actually beat it. I guess to sort of recap from the opening cinematic here, the game follows a story of Ryu Hayabusa, who's this guy right here. He's trying to track down some information about his father, who is also a ninja, because he apparently was defeated in a duel. This is what the opening screen showed. And so now he's got to go to America, track down a friend of his father's named Walter Smith, and figure out what happened. So he puts on the mask and we are ready to roll. I guess we can go ahead and get started, keeping an eye on the chat to see when people show up and if they actually talk to me. Act 1. I guess what I'll do, in case anyone's unfamiliar with this game, is sort of break down the controls, mechanics in this first level. This is a side-scrolling action slash platformer game. You basically run through each set of screens on the stage, taking out enemies and platforming through obstacles until you reach your destination and it transitions to the next level, or you hit a boss. Our ninja buddy Ryu can jump, he can swing his sword in the air, he can swing his sword on the ground, he can crouch and swing his sword, and he can stick to walls, certain walls, and he can sort of flip up the walls to climb. There's certain destructible parts of the terrain, kind of like Castlevania, and you'll get points. What I picked up were some throwing stars. Those little ninja symbols are energy. The little pink ninja symbol to the left of the throwing star is my ammunition for the different secondary weapons he gets. And other than that, it's pretty much just getting through the obstacles, taking out all the enemies, and getting to the end without dying. When you take a hit, you fly backwards, which is tricky because, as you can see, you can get comboed easily. And it can also knock you into pits, which is probably the number one way I'm going to die as I'm playing through this. The secondary weapon I picked up along the way is the Spiral Slash, which is the strongest secondary weapon in the game. Basically, if I use it in the air, I'll spin around and do a ton of hits at once. I don't want to waste it, so if I hold down and hit slash in the air, I won't use it and I'll just swing my sword normally. That was the first intro stage, essentially. This is the first boss. I believe his name is Barbarian. And he sort of just lumbers at you, swings his sword. If I use the spinning slash on him, pretty much just murders the guy in one shot. I guess because of how many hits, it just does so much damage at once and usually kills most things in one hit. And this game is neat because it's got cinematics. So Ryu says, "Who's there?" "Just a girl. Get out of here." "I will, but first..." "What the?" His trademark line throughout the series. And then she shoots him. What I'll do is I'll let the cinematics just sort of play here so we can get the story. Ow. Where am I? I see the anesthetic is wearing off. So we're in jail. Who are you? Shh, don't make so much noise. I've got a favor to ask of you. This lady can clearly be trusted. Here, take this and escape. What is this statue? There's no time to explain. Hurry. Hey, wait, who are you? Didn't you try to kill me? That's a very good question. Someone's coming. Be careful. She didn't answer my question. So, we're out of our cell, and now we're running off through the second level. This is stage 2-1. One of the keys to playing this game effectively is memorizing which of the destructible items gives you which secondary weapon, since some are more useful than others. I'm gonna have to trial and error because I haven't played this game in forever. I don't have the layouts memorized. This one is the windmill throwing star. If I hit up and attack, it sort of flies out and flies back, and I can get it to orbit around me if I dodge it on the way back. It's probably the most useful of the different secondary weapons. As I sort of traverse through the different areas, we'll see all sorts of different wildlife and or enemies that are going to make my life difficult. I've got what looks like dogs running around. I've already seen bats. Those pink dudes throw knives, and these boxer guys start punching me as soon as they get close. So pretty much everything's out to kill me, as is standard. Based on what I've seen from speedrunners, a lot of the enemy placement or enemy patterns can be predicted, but sometimes it's RNG, so you might get really unlucky and get a bad enemy spawn and it'll ruin your day. Now we're moving on to stage 2-2. We're on top of sort of a kind of like a castle almost. Ah. And there's death number 1. If I die, it sends me back to the last checkpoint, and I lose my secondary weapon. That's going to happen a lot. Playing this game, especially back in the day, it always seemed like you were more likely to die from a hazard or being knocked into something versus just losing too much health and having your life bar run out. I know one criticism of that is why have both if one is more likely to kill you, but if this game had infinite life, it'd be considerably easier. The bosses essentially would be a joke. That power-up that I got was the invincible fire wheel. It basically triggers when you get it, lasts for a certain amount of time, giving you invulnerability, and then it goes away, and you don't have it anymore. Okay, so I got the Spiral Slash again. I want to keep that for the boss. I'll make those guys easier to deal with. Ah! Or I could miss my jump. At least it doesn't send me back to the beginning. It sends me to the beginning of this screen. I know I've mentioned in other videos and streams that I've somewhat jokingly considered changing my channel slogan to "I never claimed to be good at video games." This is going to be a prime example of why. This is one of my favorite games, but it is difficult and I suck at it. Ugh. Should have jumped. Okay, so that's game over number 1. You have infinite continues, but it usually drops you all the way back to the beginning of the transition point. So in this case, it dropped me back to 2-2. So not all the way back to the beginning when I get out of the cell, but fairly far enough back. Now I gotta get all the way back to where I was, but overall, this game progresses pretty quickly. Doesn't take too long to get through the different sections. If I wasn't narrating, this would go even faster. The main challenge is just getting through everything and not dying. Overall, the bosses aren't too difficult either, maybe with the exception of the infamous final boss. See if I can glitch this guy off the screen. I did it earlier. Whatever. Since I have the spiral slash, I don't really need to worry too much about that. Just need to try and conserve as much little bit of energy for the boss. Whew. Okay. Moving on. This is Bomberhead. He walks forward and he swings a sickle. The spiral slash murders this guy as well. What is this bizarre statue anyway, and who was that woman? As I grew more and more suspicious, I went off to look for that supposed acquaintance of my father, Mr. Smith. Alright. Act 3. Think there's 6 acts? Who is it? You must be Walter Smith. My name's Ryu Hayabusa. Who? That sword. I'm gonna do voices for these guys. Of course. You must be Ken Hayabusa's son. In his last letter... Wow, this is Ryu talking. In his last letter, my father told me I should see you. Last letter? I see. So it has already begun. Your dad's dead. Ken and I were on an expedition to some old Amazon ruins. We found a strange statue and stone tablet. On the tablet it said... Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that statue? Yes, precisely. I thought it had been stolen. That demon statue possesses enough evil power to destroy an entire nation. The demon came to this earth and caused many deaths. Just assuming who's talking here. But then Shinobi, from the Sega video game, decided to stop the demon. Shinobi borrowed the strength of the dragon and countered each of the demon's spells and thus was able to overcome it. Yet, though it was defeated, the demon was not dead. He was just really tired. So Shinobi confined the evil power of the demon in 2 statues of light and shadow. And the body of the demon was confined in a temple. This one must be the shadow statue, therefore... And now I've got it. Bye, friend. Oh, what a jerk. What the... After him, Ryu!